Well, let's take a look at what's making the headlines on the front pages this morning. Time for paper review. We'll begin with This Day, our sister publication. On the front page, the bold headline there this morning, Buhari in Imo says it's unthinkable that any Igbo man would want to exit Nigeria. The riders want to be remembered for stabilizing nation's security, economy, reiterates commitment to completing second Niger Bridge, other projects, promises credible elections in 2023. Ohaneze demands equity, justice, fairness for all citizens, says Igbo are most federated people in Nigeria.
Today we have the VAT amendments. Now, the NBA and the SANs have cautioned National Assembly enforce the FIRS plan revenue court. And it says if the National Assembly makes the mistake of legislating and including the VAT as a matter on the exclusive legislative list, it can be lawfully challenged in the court of law.
Away from the Punch newspaper, we're moving over now to the Guardian newspaper. The top headline right there is amid VAT uproar, states sue federal government over sharing of stamp duties.
Let's take a look at some of the foreign papers this morning. The Independent says on its front page, France is warning UK migrant plan will lead to tragedy. Rift deepens as Patel accused of blackmail over Channel crisis. That's the front page of the Independent this morning.
And what we have on the metro in the UK, commuters clash over mask rules. They're calling for clarity as instructions for passengers to cover up are ignored.
In the Financial Times, ECB to slow crisis era support as confidence grows in recovery. And another one here is Pakistan looks to Taliban to prevent refugee crisis. This one here is The Mirror, the Daily Mirror, the heart of Britain, and Rio Ferdinand's heartbreak. My family's racism torment. The Star says those closest to him are broken by online abuse.
Well, for more on this front page headlines this morning, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello. He joins us for the press review this morning. Good morning, Emmanuel. Great to see you. Let's begin with This Day front page. What do you make of that story? The president's one-day working visit to the rest of Imo State, southeast Nigeria.
Well, for most editors in the newsroom yesterday, that was a low-hanging, fruits for them to grab and do interesting stories. Of course, it was covered live, so the newspapers, for instance, will have to look for interesting angles to deal with the story. And this day, with its signature lead, when it comes to getting to the root of story, getting to the back of the story, and getting better reports, even for something that it's in the public domain already because of cables and social media. This story got an angle, and they got the angle of the president saying it's unthinkable that any Igbo man could think of leaving the country. I think the visit itself is historic, like a lot of people will say. There were people who say that the president should have been doing more of such visits. And if you look at the background of this visit, it was not just an attempt at shoving up his image. It's also an attempt at addressing some of the lingering things that are there. The optics too were very good for the president. You have Igbo leaders coming together, giving him gifts and all of that. And I think his handlers, the handlers of the president, will be very happy with the kind of pictures they are seeing this morning in the front page of newspaper. But of course, beyond the pictures are the stories themselves, what the actors say. The governor of Imo State, very happy with himself yesterday. He said something that I think was very catchy. I didn't see much of that in some papers when he said, talking about using an Igbo proverb, say that, how did he even put it? He say, well, you can only tell a blind man that there is no oil in the soup. but you can't tell him that there's no salt in it. So I think it's its own way, it's Imo State governor's way of establishing its legacy, of saying that, look, we can bridge the central government and even and the regional government, and to answer maybe what a lot of people call the Igbo question in Nigeria. I don't know how much of this visit would do, how much of that answering this visit is done. Yesterday you had dissenting voices. There are people who say that the visits, well, it's too little, too late, who are saying that, look, the president should have done this earlier, who are saying that the optics or the drama of just a visit will not solve deep-seated issues that the Igbos are raising. The issue of Igbo presidency, the issue of more access to federation, to the center, or a whole lot of things that the Igbos are calling for. Even the issue of self-determination, that the Igbos seem to be in a lead. How much of this visit would deal with that? So it's, I think the papers have a lot to explore further, to also look at reactions after this. Maybe by today or tomorrow they could build on this story and look about a whole lot of different newspapers took various angles to this story. And I think what they did, saying that the president it's unthinkable at this point for any Igbo to consider leaving the country. I think that is also very significant and profound. But yes, the stories can be built on today to look at other issues. And I think some other papers try to look at the issues from various angles. And I think they should get reaction of the common man on the street, what they think of, because yesterday there was a sit-at-home in Imo State, and I think most parts of the East. Is there a protest against the coming? So did the coming have any kind of effect that it's supposed to have? So these are the lingering questions that I think, if they can do a straight story, if the papers can do a straight story, they must do some editorializing, but I think it's a very significant visit.
Now, so much to unpack in that story, but let's move over to another newspaper. Now, The Punch is still on this value-added tax amendment. The Nigerian Bar Association and the SANs are cautioning the National Assembly and faulting the FIRS for a planned review court and the matter on adding the VAT to the exclusive legislative list. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a story that is not going away. Yesterday I said it. I said, look, there's going to be more on this story. Lagos State, for instance, has done its own. Now we have states even in the north, thinking of doing the same thing. But like I said, someone say that it's a victory for federalism. Someone says it's a victory for fiscal, federalism. And all that, but you need to also listen to what the FIRS is saying, but it's like the momentum is not on the side of the federal government in this matter. It's not on the side of the FIRS, because the NBA and a whole lot of people are beginning to weigh into it that, look, this is, and it could be some sort of a revolutionary change in the way things are done in this country. A day like this was bound to come anyway, where states will demand that they control their resources. State resource control have always been an issue there, and you want to commend the Rivers State governor for spearheading this, or you want to say that he is the star boy in this issue for spearheading it? But you see Lagos State doing the same thing. You see more states actually thinking of it. But you also, while doing that, you have to also listen to what the FIRS keeps saying, and they are saying it on top of their lungs that, look, Nigeria would then be the only state or the only country in the world that is operating a system like this, where states are in control of their VAT. But again, this is just all part of the huge constitutional crisis or discussion that's always been in the place. How much should go to the central, how much to go to the state, and now it's starting with VAT. And you had Wike the other day saying that was not captured in most newspapers. He wondered how monies that he got from collecting VAT from, let's say, for instance, alcohol, could go to parts of the country where people do not even do not respect or do not take those things. So Adamawa State, for instance, is also thinking of controlling it as VAT. It could be the start of something or the end of something, depending on how you're looking at it. But for me, it's a robust opportunity for state to address the issue of internally generated revenues and to look at how they can look inwards, because a day like this is bound to happen, and it's happening now. We stay thinking that, look, yes, we can control parts of our resources or a greater part of our resources, but don't forget that the Federal Inland Revenue, representing the federal government, are saying that, well, we have never actually been the one collecting everything. When we collect these things, we share them. They even talk about the fact that this will lead to double jeopardy for businessmen, a situation where you have to pay VAT in one state and maybe go to another state and pay VAT. And they are looking at all the implications. But now, various interests are weighing in. The Bar Association is weighing in. And who knows, maybe very soon the chambers of commerce across the country, we have to think about what's going on. Like I say, it could be the start of a beautiful thing or actually the end of some kind of some situation that we are all used to. But by and large, I think it just begs the question of the lingering question that's always been there, that states are supposed to look inwards to see what they can do to maximize on the the various things that they have in there, because there's no state really that cannot really look inward. It's a situation where states come to the federal government every other day, collect a fact check, get back to their state and share it in very strange ways, and then at the end of the month they get richer again for another 3 billion, and then this, so we probably can continue living that way, and leaving other people to be the major producers and others as the consumers. It's not going to work. It's just only a matter of time that a day like this will come. So for states to force themselves, and every state in this country is endowed. Every state in Nigeria has got something to leverage on and actually, look beyond even oil resources. If for some states it's tourism, for some states it's agriculture, for other states it's mineral deposits. Every state is endowed.
Let's take some other front pages this morning. Emmanuel Bello. I think Kenneth has the Guardian.
The Guardian is leading still with the VAT story, but something else here on the Guardian is the issue with Guinea. ECOWAS suspends Guinea as Oshibajo urges decisive steps against coups. Emmanuel, what role can Nigeria play in the crisis in Guinea?
Well, we need to worry about Guinea because we like to play those, from the days of the ECOWAS to today, we like to play that, big brother role, not only just in the subcontinent, but I think in the continent as well. So, of course, I was just expecting that someone was going to talk tough, but the leaders of the coup in Guinea are very clear about what they're doing. And but I think for us, it's an opportunity. There's an adage that if your neighbor's house is on fire, maybe you should look inwards and check yours and ensure that it doesn't, cross over and then engulfs yours too. So it's good that we play some leadership role. We talk tough the way we are talking, and of course we condemn coups because this is we're in an era of democracy and everything. But it's also an opportunity for some form of soul searching, some form of self-reflection, some form of self-examination, and to ask ourselves, beyond talking tough, beyond talking to the coup leaders, what of course it's condemnable that you seize powers the way you do, but then beyond condemning coups, we also need to look at the crisis that lead to coups. The fact that someone wants to sit tight forever. I mean, you can actually, democracy is beautiful, but you have to also make it, you have to make it people-friendly. It has to be done with justice, with fairness, and all the other things before you condemn anyone. If someone was going to be a sit-tight ruler, it's no different from someone who seizes power through the barrel of the gun. We're condemning it. I think it's condemned everywhere. I think all the relevant bodies are condemning the coup, and we're trying to play a big role in that condemnation. It's a role that has been reserved for us for a very long time. But we need to also lead as not just as the chief police of the subcontinent or of the continent, but we also need to lead by great examples, by deepening our own democracy, by ensuring that our democracy works for the people, by ensuring that our democracy is actually the kind of democracy that will be envied, not only at the sub-regional level, but even at the continental level. We are not just big brother for nothing. We should be big brother indeed for
That's all the time we have now for newspaper reviews.